Well, hey there, Yellow Jacket fans. Alongside Ryan Alpert, I'm Andy Demetra. And Ryan, this is not just a podcast. This is a hell of a podcast. Welcome into our brand new podcast with the athletic director, Ryan Alpert. We'll do this every month, being able to delve a little more deeply into topics and issues, not only around the Georgia Tech Athletic Association, but college sports in general. And as awkward as this may seem, Ryan, welcome into your podcast. How are you?
Thank you. Excited to do it. These are fun.
You're a podcast listener, right?
Yeah, I like to listen to podcasts. Actually, outside of sports, I'm a fan of 𝙃𝙀𝙇𝙇𝙼 How I Built This. I think sometimes attributing now into college sports, but how CEOs or founders built their companies, what they did from a management standpoint, leadership standpoint. So when I have some extra time, I like to listen to about an hour long most of the time, and just outside of the college sports world, I enjoy it.
Is it when you're exercising or driving to and from work? When do you like to pop those on?
Well, now I take my daughter to work some days now, and so we listen to Bible stories, and then she has to transition to some Taylor Swift.
Okay.
So I find myself sometimes listening to Taylor Swift after she exits the car, and then I'll change it over to a podcast.
There you go. Perfect. Well, another podcast to add to all of your playlists. Make sure you like, listen, and subscribe. And let's get into it. We want to get a little more of a comprehensive look at what's going on around the Georgia Tech Athletic Association. I know you're about 2.5 months now onto the job, and you probably haven't slowed down one bit. What have these first 2.5 months looked like for you?
Well, starting off 4-0 in football and having a really successful fall sports season with volleyball and golf. But no, I think for me, it's been about, you come in, you listen, you learn. I'm trying to build relationships across the Institute, reaching out to our top donors, top sponsors, engaging the community. We were lucky enough to have the mayor out with us in Colorado, so trying to build and bridge those relationships while also evaluating our staff, beginning to look at the organizational chart, trying to get people in the right seats on the bus to help lead us into the future.
Athletic directors and various leaders talk about their first 100 days in office. You're not quite at that 100-day mark yet, but what did you set out to accomplish in your first couple of months here as AD at Georgia Tech?
Well, it was coming into the football season was really to evaluate. Football is the economic engine of college sports and is of Georgia Tech. So, fan experience, revenue generation. We've got a couple significant capital projects going on with the Fanning Center, but also 𝙃𝙀𝙇𝙇𝙼 coming up after the 26th football season. So, really understanding where things are, but then on a granular level, pushing attendance, engaging our students. That's probably been the biggest surprise every place I've ever been. The first home game, right? We had a rain delay. It was against Gardner-Webb. So I was thinking, are the students going to come back after the rain delay right before kickoff? They have to leave the stadium, and they flooded back in, and I thought that was incredible. And so we had a record-breaking 7,000 student tickets sold. We've had incredible crowds our first 3 games. Now we're headed on the road this week and then return home against Virginia Tech. So how can we continue to invest in that fan experience and get not only our students but our fans to keep coming back and making 𝙃𝙀𝙇𝙇𝙼 an incredible home field advantage?
Well, technically, Georgia Tech has had 3 storms at his home games if you include the field storming. After Clemson, you got your first win as athletic director out in Boulder. You got your first home game for the Yellow Jackets against Gardner-Webb, and then you got your first field storming. You were actually on the field then when Aiden Burr's field goal cleared the crossbar, right?
Yeah, it was. I was back on the side where you could see it. He had enough leg on it. It was direct. Although it kind of looked like a beautiful draw, kind of going at the right hand goalpost and drew back in dead center. Celebrated for a minute, then I went over and focused on making sure Clemson, they were going to sing their alma mater, win or lose, and they did, and we got them off the field safely while then our students and fans were able to come out and celebrate.
Everybody celebrated, nobody got hurt, and let's keep those good times rolling. And if you haven't gotten your tickets yet for Georgia Tech's remaining 3 home games, make sure you get them right now, ramblineric.com/tickets. Now, we are recording this here at Bobby Dodd Stadium, a Hyundai Field, of course, and you might be able to hear those saws whirring just off camera here with the continued construction of the Fanning Center. Can you give us an update on the timeline? I know fans who maybe came in for those first few home games, they saw the brick going up. They see the glass going up on the Techwood side. How close are we to completion of the Fanning Center?
Yeah, it's an incredible building. When you talk about the things I want to do to enhance our fan experience, the other thing that we really want to focus on is our player development And the Fanning Center is a top line, best facility in its class when it comes to what we're going to do and be able to invest back into our players. When it comes to state-of-the-art weight room, nutrition, analytics, everything we're going to be able to do to be able to help our athletes come here and perform at the highest level. And so that building's set to come, open up late March, early April of next year. And as you can see, it's coming together. It fits the aesthetic of the stadium. It's going to nearly double almost every piece of square footage that we have around our sports complex related to nutrition, our weight room, analytics, pieces of data that we've never really looked at that I think can help us become more effective and more efficient. And really, we're always looking for what is that winning edge against our competitors, and I think the Fanning Center is going to help us continue to find that winning edge.
And a big milestone for the Fanning Center this weekend because the construction crane is finally coming down.
That's right. Although I was in the President Cabinet's meeting the other day, and he likes to count the cranes that are across the Midtown skyline because I think that shows progress, innovation, and where we're headed as Georgia Tech. And so I had to tell him in a disappointing manner, one was coming down, so we need to get another one up and going.
There you go. Yeah, I know one crane goes down, it's not long before another one comes back up. That'll certainly be an interesting sight now. You actually get to see into the skyline with an unobstructed view, but that is certainly a testament to the progress of the Fanning Center. You talked about this being a game changer for Georgia Tech athletics and for the football program as well. You always have to think 2 and 3 steps ahead, especially in this landscape of college football. How will the Fanning Center, specifically as it relates to football, put them on the lead edge of the curve in the years to come?
Yeah, I think the things that we're going to invest in, I think after the House settlement from this past summer and where we're going, player acquisition, revenue share, NIL, being able to attract the best athletes in the country, but through revenue share and NIL is critically important. But then once they get to your campus, what are you doing to develop them? What are you doing to make them the best that they can be at their craft? And what the Fanning Center is going to be able to do is, what the inputs in, so how you work out, where you work out, the technology that you have, how are you being measured, how are we helping you get better? Are we utilizing data to show progress as we invest in you as a student? And so I think that we're going to be really aggressive in the player acquisition side, but this is the player development side that I think, you marry those two together, and that's, again, we talked about earlier, that winning edge, and the Fanning Center is going to be able to create that for us.
Well, once the ribbon gets cut this spring, and no sooner will those doors open to the Fanning Center, then you got the Full Steam Ahead initiative and the renovation of Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field. Can you give us a sense of where we are in the process, before obviously a shovel gets put into the ground or any kind of changes are made? There are obviously a lot of steps that have to take place before then. Where are you in that process?
Yeah, so everything goes through the state building process through the USG, and so where everything sits now is we just hired an architect. So we have an architect of record. I believe we're in the process of finalizing a contractor, and so those two are obviously critical to building the project. And so the architect is going to actually come into town next week, and what we're going to do is really go back through all the plans that were discussed from a suite renovation, from the chair back seating, from the fan amenities, and really hone in and begin to really finalize those design elements. And so while we're doing all of those elements, our AT fund is out, talking to our current suite holders, looking for capital gifts, capital investments. We're selling club seats. And so what a better time, as you mentioned, marrying up the Fanning Center being completed when we're having this unprecedented success in football, but the same as our premium elements. I talk a lot about diversity of product. The NFL and the NBA do a great job in bringing a diversity of product into to sell to fans. And what we're going to do with the renovations here at Bobby Dodd is to deliver not only a renovation, but a diversity of product, enhancing the fan experience and enhancing the game day experience for our fans. I'm excited to really take the next step in that process by getting the architect on campus and then being able to communicate out. What I've learned quickly is we have some really intelligent fans, and they're engineers and architects, and they're going to ask a lot of questions. So we're going to get a ton of renderings and information out for people to consume and invest in what we're doing.
Good. So there will be some updated renderings here before long.
Yes, absolutely. I think we've shared some. but I look forward to getting a lot more out here soon.
The most significant cosmetic change, I think, to some fans will be the chairbacks now around Bobby Dodd Stadium. The student section will remain bleacher seating. And then also you talked about some of the premium suites and hospitality spaces, and it's always a balancing act when you have a stadium as historic at Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field. You want to respect that history, but at the same time, you want to provide that premium experience for the competitive entertainment dollar of our fans, because you're not only competing against other entertainment options in Atlanta, but you're competing against 4K televisions, and it's a lot to consider. How do you find that line in working on the Full Steam Ahead initiative to make sure that this is still a crown jewel of college football history, but it's also modernized in a way that appeals to fans in 2026 and beyond?
Yeah, I think you described it perfectly there. I think this is a cathedral of college football. It's the oldest stadium in the country. I think what we talk about a lot with our staff and what we're going to do is we're going to honor our past and be able to talk about it, articulate it, and put it on display, but we have to modernize for the future. That's from a revenue generation standpoint, that's from a fan experience standpoint, that's from a diversity of product standpoint. And so we're always going to think about how can we honor our past and showcase those elements within the stadium, but then also how can we modernize and put Bobby Dodd right on the leading edge of the stadiums around the country.
Part of installing the chairbacks also comes with it a stadium reseating, and we do want to talk about that. That was previously announced that a reseat is necessary because of the capacity of many of the sections. They'll change due to the installation of the chairbacks. What more can you tell Georgia Tech fans about that process, how it'll unfold, what it'll take shape? And Georgia Tech fans may naturally wonder, well, what will that do to my location of my current seat at Bobby Dodd Stadium?
Yeah, whenever you do a reseating, it's critically important how you communicate, what you communicate, the integrity of the system has to be there. So actually was meeting this morning about building the communication plan. And so what we will do is, based on each section and the sell-through rates, we're going to email out that, hey, you're sitting in section 105. Under the current, renovated plan to add chairbacks to this location, there's going to be 150 seats and that are no longer going to be there. And so you're likely going to have a displacement process. And so that process, we're going to rank donors 1, to 1,000. And donor 1 will go first and be able to select their seat within the stadium. And then that way we'll go from 1 all the way to 1,000 and be able to have people there's a technology company called Bellina where you can go on and select your seats online, or you'll be able to come in person and be able to do it. And so everybody will have a time. They will know when it is. We'll communicate that 6 months in advance of that process. We'll have a donor lock standpoint. So a lot of folks that are contemplating making gifts or supporting the campaign, this isn't going to be the exact date, but we may say, for example, on January 1 of 2026, that's going to be the donor lock date. So if you want to make a gift prior to that can help impact your rank or your score, you can make a gift, and then that way you know where you're going to be seated, almost like an NCAA tournament situation, but where you're going to be ranked within the donor system, and then that's where you'll select. And we'll have parameters around number of seats that you can select up to a certain amount that you can then pick. And then if you're sitting within a group, we have some rules to ensure that groups that have sat together for many years can still sit together moving forward in the new configuration. So there's always some pain points when come with the reseating, but I see this as a great opportunity to give people a great chance to be able to participate in the new enhanced stadium.
And in order to be part of the reseating process, though, you have to be a season ticket member for 2026.
That's right. And you have to be a season ticket holder. Now, we will sell you new season tickets, and we're always going to be engaging and always selling. And so when folks have bought, we've sold over 2,000 new season tickets for this season. We'll continue to sell new season tickets for next season. But when we do that, we're communicating with them that your seat location that you have selected for this year may not be that same seat location. But by being a season ticket holder, it's going to put you into that process to be in the relocation process and the reseeding process in 27.
And be on the lookout for more information about that from atfund.org. Earlier this week, the athletic directors around the ACC gathered in Charlotte and made the decision official to move to a 9-game conference schedule beginning in 2027. This is your first meeting with the rest of the ADs since you came at Georgia Tech, though, right?
First one in person.
Okay.
So we Zoom every other week for about an hour and a half, talk about major items that are going on nationally, some topics that we have locally within the ACC. So this was my first in-person meeting.
All right, then obviously a first meeting, but it was a momentous decision that came out of it. What does this mean for Georgia Tech in the impending move to a 9-game conference schedule?
Yeah, I think long-term it's a strategy as the SEC had moved to 9, the Big 12 plays 9, and the Big 10 plays 9. So at the time of the decision, we were the only Power 4 league not playing 9 league games. And so when you have a requirement at the time when we were 8 league games plus 2 Power 4 non-conference games, there becomes a scarcity of games available because the other leagues were not having to play another P4 or not requiring 2 P4 out-of-conference games. So with our 17 football members, there was a scarcity of games available. And then also I think it's about mirroring our peer Power 4 leagues and getting to 9 league games, continuing to play each other. We need to lift football up in the ACC. Some of us have made significant investments in our football programs, and I think everybody's committed to continuing to invest in football in the ACC to continue to have our overall league be on the rise. And then we will be us and the SEC are the only 2 power leagues committed to playing 10 Power 4 games. Now, some teams in other leagues do play more.
But they're not required to.
But they're not required. So, again, what can we do to continue to put the ACC in the driver's position as a part of the P4 leagues? And so requiring the 9 league games plus the additional P4 non-conference game is critically important for us to continue to sell our story and articulate our commitment to being at the highest level of college football. And for our fans, they'll know the first person I texted within the room, even though maybe it wasn't supposed to, was Josh Brooks. And so we are still committed and will stay committed to playing one of the best rivalries in all of college football.
With the move to a mandatory 10 games versus Power 4 opponents, does that impact any future opponents on the Georgia Tech schedule, at least right now?
Not right now. No, I think we're committed to look. We're looking at it as a league and as an individual institution within the league, but we're still going through how we implement it moving forward and what that looks like. But right now, I think we're in a good place. With
17 teams in the ACC, future 9-game schedule, the math has to math. So there will always be one ACC team each year that still plays 8 conference games. Is that a conversation, an algorithm for down the road? How is the ACC going to determine who draws that 8-game straw?
Well, we talked about that, and I did volunteer. I said we probably have the smartest fan base and students here on our campus. So if there is a team or a school that needs to come up with that algorithm, I felt confident in Georgia Tech to do so. But we're still working through how it's implemented, who has access to the 8-game league schedule, what would the tiebreakers be to be able to access the championship game. But Jim Phillips, our commissioner, as well as the staff, have done a great job articulating and building scenarios that allow us as athletic directors to react to them. And I'd say the group is we're unified, and it's a healthy dialogue back and forth about what at a national level. We have 2 ADs that we have representation on the CFP committee, so it's important to hear from them of how that selection process is made, how are they evaluating teams, and then ultimately what decisions are we making to ensure that teams within the ACC have access to postseason.
Commissioner Jim Phillips was at the game versus Temple here at Bobby Dodd Stadium, was he not?
Yeah, he was here. He came to visit, met with President Cabrera, myself, and Coach Key. Leading into those meetings and that we were going to on the 9-game schedule. I think what he's such a tremendous leader about is socializing topics to ensure he understands. You have 2 different hats on, right? You've got an ACC hat I've got a Georgia Tech hat, but ultimately we've got to come together and make some decisions as a league that's best for the overall ecosystem.
So he was here as Georgia Tech improved its home win streak to 8 games, tied for its longest home field win streak since 1989 to 1991. Let's talk more about this football program. Undefeated start, number 16 in the national rankings, and you know when you're in the national rankings, you get that national recognition and national exposure. As an athletics director, how have you seen that sort of perpetuating effect of being ranked, gaining that notoriety, and its impact on Georgia Tech athletics as a whole?
Yeah, so I'll talk about from the business side, and then I'll talk about coach. So from our side, what we're trying to do is leverage the success, right? We're trying to be more aggressive in the marketing space, be more aggressive in the ticket sales space. We're not only trying to sell single game tickets to get people for the remaining rest of this year, we're trying to leverage these premium assets we're talking about with the renovation 2 years away. We're trying to get people to buy season tickets for next year. With all the excitement and all the buzz, we're trying to leverage that excitement for success. And you can see, I mean, the environment within this stadium, with what the students have brought, it is, you can tell why we've won so many games in a row at home is because of the environment that our students are bringing and creating a home field advantage for our team. And then Brent and the football team, I think he's enjoy the win for 24 hours, but wash it off and come back ready to work. And what he's done with his staff and how they focus, and each game coming in with a unique game plan that puts us in position to go and win, and but then be able to celebrate it for 24 hours. No matter the ranking, no matter the notoriety, no matter the number of honors we get in the week, I think he understands the importance of that, of building a program. I think that's what he and I have talked about. He's not building a team. I mean, you can tell the culture in the locker room, what he's doing with the staff, the type of kids that he's recruiting. He's building a program here. It's so much fun to see. You know, I get to celebrate it being 60 days in, but to see, you know, he's put so much time, effort, energy, blood, sweat, and tears from him and the team, you know, to see those guys go out and win and being able to be celebrated with the national ranking, with the notoriety that's coming from all the syndicated writers. The AP had a great article yesterday. You know, I talked to some of the national guys, and they all recognize who Brent is as a person. He's an alum. And so it's special to see all that come together and be a part of it.
Yeah, it's cool to see more people around college football in general get a sense of who Brent Key is, not just as a coach, but his personality. It's been neat to see a lot of people kind of gravitate toward that and connect with it. What have your peers, you know, how have they reached out to you and, you know, mention anything about what they've seen from Brent or Haynes King or just this team in general? I'm sure you've gotten some pretty good text messages in your pocket these last few weeks. Yeah,
I think I'll start with Brent. I think what people appreciate and like about him is he is who he is, right? You can tell who he is. He's passionate. He's genuine. He loves his guys, and so I think that in this world of college sports, to have a genuine personality. And the team, you know, he was hardworking, offensive lineman, you know, worked his way up to be where he is. And I think that's what the team displays, is that hard work mentality. And so I think that's really unique in college football to see today. I think a lot of my buddies are reaching out, and they're all congratulating us on our success, and see a team that has invested aggressively in football and seeing it come together with an alum on the sideline, with great kids. I mean, Haynes King is I think will go down as one of the best college football players who embodies a program, again, toughness, who he is as a kid. I got first week on the job, got to go to ACC media days with him, and just to see the team interact together and to see the leadership in the locker room. That's probably, again, one of the best things I've seen on this team, is not only what Coach Key and all the assistants and the coordinators are doing, but the leadership within the locker room is special. And any time I've been around a successful team, no matter if it's golf, volleyball, soccer, football, when when the student athletes are leading each other, you know you got something special.
Well, football is far from the only program that has enjoyed success this fall. Men's golf is ranked number 18 nationally. Volleyball with ACC play opening at O'Keefe. They also set a new program attendance record in the match at McCamish. I know they didn't get the result they wanted, but you nonetheless have to tip your cap to Michelle and her program, 5,400 plus. I know you brought your daughters there. They kept those vibes high on the baseline. What'd you make of that atmosphere in the match at McCamish?
Yeah, McCamish, it was awesome, and I think Michelle's built one of the best programs we have at Georgia Tech. She's got, I think, 6 new players in the rotation. So we went up 2-1. The energy was incredible to set the record again. Just like football, our fans, the community, the students are really buying in to what we're doing here at Georgia Tech and what our student athletes are doing and competing. I've used it a couple times, but we really need to become Atlanta's hometown college team, and I think we can with embracing the city, embracing the community. And McCamish was a great example of that, setting an all-time attendance record. The building, it gets really loud. I don't know, it's the low ceiling. It's a dark ceiling, but it's pretty low. And the environment in there was incredible. I thought at some point we were going to get a point violation for my daughters dancing almost on the court until 10 o'clock at night with the 5-setter there. But it wasn't the result we wanted, but you can tell, and nobody better suited to get the team ready to go than Michelle. And you mentioned golf. I had the opportunity to fly up with the team to Chicago in advance of their tournament last weekend, and got to play with them. I ended up picking up my ball more than ended up playing because I didn't want to slow them down. But talk about, again, another incredible team led by Bruce. Quality young men that represent Georgia Tech in the right way and win at a high level.
Now, the perk of being the AD here, because Bruce can help you lower your handicap.
He was coaching me.
Coaches coach. That's
coaches
what they
coach.
do.
Yeah, I told him I hear what he's saying. I just can't execute it. I'm not. I'm listening to him. I'm trying to do what he's saying, but just because I can't execute it doesn't mean I'm not listening.
If you keep listening, you've seen how many of his golfers are inducted into the Georgia Tech Athletics Hall of Fame. That will certainly pay off. And of course, this week, both men's and women's basketball started their preseason practices. Damon Stoudemire and the men, Karen Blair and the women. I know you've had a chance to get out to Zelnak and watch them work, not just since the beginning of preseason. How excited are you for the possibilities of both of these teams this winter?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Let me start with the women's program and KB instilling her program, instilling her core pillars. I mean, they play fast. She gives a lot of responsibility to the players on the court. I've really enjoyed watching how she teaches and also letting her staff teach as well. And so I'm excited to see and have our fans see how fast we play, we push the ball. Really excited to see her program and see, in her first head coaching experience here, being able to put her fingerprints on a very successful program. And then Damon, he was sitting next to me during the volleyball match, and we were talking about the team and how excited he is about the pieces coming together and how he sees last year's team, which finished 7-3 to end the year. So really finished on a high note with a lot of momentum, but then adding some new pieces, and he's really excited about some of those pieces and how they're gelling and coming together. So I'm excited to see both programs, start practice, but can't wait for the exhibitions and then ultimately the first games here coming up.
Season will be here before you know it. Make sure you get your tickets at ramblinwreck.com/tickets. And if I didn't know any better, Ryan, I'd say this was a hell of a podcast. Maybe we do this again next month.
I think we should.
There you go. You know what we do in podcasts. You like, listen, subscribe, but we have one last command here since this is a Georgia Tech podcast. Like, listen, subscribe, and sting them. Ryan, appreciate that. We'll do this again soon.
Awesome. Thank you.